Hey, welcome to the Runaways podcast. My name is Cody. We're back for everyone's favorite week. It is tier list week. So we are going to make a tier list for the next Pro Tour that's coming up. Now that we have officially kind of seen the RTN season end, we have gotten our no changes ban list has come out. There's only like a small little thing that could happen. Well, we can cover that later. But first of all, we do have one last RTN season to kind of talk about a little bit. But Lucas, did you go to an RTN? Did you have an RTN this last weekend? Have you
Oh,
done anything for Flesh and Blood related?
yeah, I've been playing a bunch of games online. I played a lot of Verdants. Played a lot of Verdants. Having a lot of fun with that deck. Probably will not be playing a whole lot more Verdants, but that's okay. That deck's sweet. I was trying out a bunch of super whack, janky stuff, and it was actually working pretty well. So I had a lot of fun. I did a bunch of drafting, but no RTNs or anything like that. Yeah, it was just kind of a chill week.
Nice. I got to play CCRTN, which was quite sad. Everyone was just like, "Oh, no Viscerai, how are you still a human in the world?" But I played new, and round one I got hit with. I banished the red etchings off the top, and then they played Mirror Guy and played double etchings on it, and it came in for 20, and I died. Uh,
Sounds
so
about right.
yeah, that was a little bit sad. Um, but I got to do a cool play. Like, I don't know, one of the fun parts about new is just like the cool plays you get to do with your opponent's cards. So there was like a Jarl where I got to cast their seeds, the one that tucks your arsenal to prevent five. I had screwed myself where I drew double codex, and I had one of the slithers in my arsenal, and I had a fang strike in my hand because I'm a fool and didn't cast it on the last turn. They like staunch response to my guy, and I didn't cast it because I was like, oh, it's bad value, not thinking, oh, I'm just gonna like IP on this unplayable card. Uh, so then, yeah, being able to cast their seeds and free up my arsenal, play the codex, discard this jank card was pretty fun. So it was a fun weekend, even though I didn't get to check the iWin box as much as I would like.
I see. Dan, I know you went to an RTN
I did.
over the weekend because I was also there. How did you? What did you play and how did it go?
Yeah, so I brought Ira to play at this event, but 20 minutes before I left, I was convinced somehow that I should give KO a shot. So I did that. I like showed up with it. I didn't have a weapon. I had to like grab it from the store. Had to like switch 9 cards from my Ira deck to the KO deck, but I subbed KO just because it sounded fun, and this is what I played last year for RTN. So it's little bit nostalgic. I had a pretty good run that year. Made like top it at all the events, and it took me the whole season to win finally at the end. Maybe it was ProQuest, I forget. But yeah, I brought KO. I rolled scabs, I think 5 times during Swiss. The lowest number I rolled was a 4, so that was cool.
Yeah,
Swiss went
you
great.
rolled a 6 against me like twice.
Yeah, you were 2 of the 5. Swiss went great. I only lost to Cody playing new. It's kind of a funny game. He hit me with 18 on a bonds that I didn't block. That's pretty much the whole game. Played top 8, made it to the finals. The finals was depressing, and I remembered why KO is sometimes not a very good deck. I drew the part of the deck where you're just a really, really, really bad Reinhardt. Like the biggest number on any attack I drew the first like 6 turns was a 6. All of my hands just were like block 2 cards, attack for 6. It was really sad. And in that game, I rolled like 3 times, and none of them were greater than 3. So it was fun. Lost in the finals. I was pretty happy to be playing KO again. I enjoy that deck.
Yeah, KO giveth, KO taketh away.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Like the games are winning.
Knows all about that.
Mm-hmm.
Like the games are
I
winning.
really don't want to sub KO for a third Pro Tour, but
Mm.
maybe Dan will convince me.
Yeah, I don't know. He's pretty interesting. Like he's like really bad at closing. Like other than Reckless Swing, he's just like it takes like 5 turns to finally get them down because you like roll your scabs when you have to. It'll be 1 action. You attack them for 7. You get like 2 cards and you block a card. And then you like play your Wild Ride and you'll draw red, and you'll just attack it with your claw, and then they'll block and you go to the next turn. It just takes so long to finish the game. Guess that's why you play Pulping.
Yeah, pulping helps in there. Also, if they run a bunch of 2 blocks, that helps as well, or no blocks even.
Yeah, agreed.
Helps you close out the game. I was at the same RTN. I played new. I went undefeated in Swiss, and then I got mollywopped by an Azalea. The deck all day. The deck just went, I win, and then I sat down in top 8, and my deck said, you lose, and I said, oh, can you not do this right now? And it said no. It was like I'd just be randomly behind. That my deck would just draw like god hands. I would just get out of it. Like the one against Dan. Like I thought I was pretty far behind in that game because you were actually playing the game against me. And then I'm just like, no blocks, bonds. And you're like, I don't block bonds. And I was like, 18 damage. You're like, okay, I'm at 4 now. I guess the game is over.
Yeah, that was really cool.
That was like my whole day. And then it failed. But other than that, it was fun. It was nice. RTN season's over. Focus on Pro Tour now. We kind of have a good shape of how everything is going to go. Anything else on the ProQuest season? I don't think there's a really good reason to cover what won last week because we're going to be talking about a tier list.
There was like a small thing that for those who were curious, Zen did get over the like small threshold that he needed. So he does only need one of the 2 callings or 2 of the 5 battle hardens.
He's 5 battle hardens.
No, in order to LL. That is so. Yeah, it'll be down to the wire most likely.
Yeah, it'll be the week before he'll win, and then
it's so annoying, man. I didn't get. I was so sad when you guys went into your complaint section last week, and I missed it. Like, why do we have to deal with this end situation where it's like, I'm gonna be flying to London the weekend of the last battle hardens, and I guess I'm bringing 2 decks because I don't know if my deck's gonna be legal. Like Cold Tournament, don't like it.
Yep.
Yeah, isn't there a battle harden in Dublin the weekend before?
Yeah, there's 2 battle hardens.
So, like you could feasibly just go like to that region of the world 1 week before, LL your LL Zen, and then play a different deck the next week.
I don't understand.
Your destiny's in your hands, honestly.
I just wish they wouldn't change the rules of a tournament.
You can only decide whether Zen will be banned. You can't decide if he'll be legal. I guess theoretically you could play a different deck and win the tournament too.
Or you could get to the finals and then concede.
Yeah, true.
Well, not if it's against Zen, then you're just screwed.
Oh no.
Yeah, so I gotta play different deck.
No, then you do everything in your power to get double DQ'd.
Yeah, you get double DQ'd.
Just like walk up to the judge, you're like, we colluded. Please.
Yeah, but then we get you suspended for the Pro Tour, and then
that would be quite a bad.
No, clearly they don't suspend you for the Pro Tour. They'll suspend me until the Pro Tour for the 5 days. Or they'd suspend me after the Pro. They'd be like, you're suspended from the day after the Pro Tour until the day before the next Pro Tour.
You can intentionally ID in this game.
Yeah.
Can you do that in the Top Cut?
No, that's why they made all those rules about how like the time limits work differently.
Okay.
Like with draws.
Well, no, I mean at the beginning of the game, before you even play the game, you can agree to draw.
Not in Top Cut. That's why they have like that long list of all the stuff that needs to happen if there's a draw. Because like draws just can't happen in Top.
Yeah. I would just go to the finals and just ID over and over again. Okay. Yeah, let's
okay. Go ahead.
Let's just go to the tier list. This is what people care about. This is what we care about. So let's jump in the tier list. We look at S tier, and S tier is going to be, the best decks in the game, most played decks in the game, however you want to clarify it, but it should just be like the best. This is what we think the best decks in the game for Pro Tour, London specifically are. A tier should be the decks that can either beat some or all or a couple of however many S tier end up being in there. They should beat some other A tiers, but they probably have something wrong with the deck that stops them from actually being in S tier. B tier would be decks that are strong, but they have massive meta holes in their game plan. So they have like hey, they're really good into these group of matchups, but they're really bad into these group of matchups. They would be B tier. Silver Bullet would be like a good example would be like Shoba's Azuri, that won Pro Tour. Like that deck beat 2 decks and had some game into other ones, but was complete dog into 43% of the meta. That's like, it's just targeting two decks that are there. And then don't play is obviously do not bring these to Pro Tour. People will, but like you're not doing yourselves any good service. So any questions before we jump in on any of those tiers? I think they're pretty make sense. Cool. Okay, let's get started with probably the easiest hero or at least some that'll have some discussion. Let's get started with Aurora, of where we think on this tier list Aurora should go.
Yes.
Yeah, S.
S. Yeah.
S.
S
Oh,
for
wow.
Aurora.
I don't know if I buy that she's S.
Every time we do one of these,
I think
Dan
the
comes
Runaways
in
is like
and says that the
the
best
Runaways
deck
is a
is the
psyop.
Optimus deck.
Dude, we like psyop ourselves, and I think Aurora's bad. I feel
I
like
just feel like her ceiling's kind of capped.
her ceiling is
but
winning
I-
the most events every season. That's a good ceiling.
No, her ceiling is so high because she can keep permanents around for multiple turns in a
Yeah.
row. Like her ceiling isn't a 30 damage.
Yeah, but she
turn.
has to get value out of them.
Yeah, but you can keep them around for like you can chain them together. That's what I'm saying. Like you can just do like 20, 20, 20, 20 with like no setup. If
I
you
would-
just draw lightning valleys.
Dan, I think I can put
Burn-ups.
this in a good way that might convince you for S. This is a aggro deck that has tricks, that has a good matchup spread where it's not a complete dog into really anything that we're probably going to put into the meta. It has like flippy matchups into everything else. If you bring this, everything you sit across from, you have a decent shot at winning. And some things you're going to be favored into, and your opponents are going to have to play around you for most of the game. I think that kind of makes it S tier. It's like you're not sitting down. I guess what Prism is probably like your worst matchup that you aren't
Prism
having
and
tech
Yara
slots
win.
for.
Yeah.
It's like for the most part, you're sitting down and playing game into everything, and not a lot of decks can say that.
Yeah. I mean, so I played a ton of Aurora. Her issue in the past was that they were faster decks, right? Like DL was the main one. Like if DL
Yeah.
wasn't printed, I would have been playing Aurora probably instead of Zen the past few months. So yeah, maybe there's no one going as fast as Aurora now that Viscerai and DL got
But it's
nerfed.
not even just
I
that
guess
you're
I can
going
buy it.
fast. It's like you're going fast with the fridge. The other decks that are going fast right now are like relinquishing their fridge. And also you have the ability to get 5 value from your cards on defense, which the other decks don't. I mean, they have like wax on or wax off, whatever, the one that blocks 5 specifically, but you're you have somersault plus sigil. So you just have like better defense and more consistent output on offense, I think.
No, I agree. Again,
And
I
you're
think
like-
her only issues before were just like better offensive output decks. Like she has anti-fatigue tools, she has anti-CYB tech that she can play pretty well.
Yeah, and you're also Erase Face being like a disruption into Syndra, I think is like a little bit less impact into Aurora. Sure, it like stops you from keeping around your channel, but like I think the deck is less reliant on having specifically lightning cards these days.
And she
And
got
you just like
more
have
new cards as well.
Yeah.
Depends on what kind of setup you have.
Yeah, the new cards are also pretty good. Like one of the main issues Dan was talking about was like potentially being behind in a lot of the aggro races. But the new arms is I haven't actually played with it, but it feels like at least in theory the new arms should be pretty good in those aggro races. Just like blocking 2 and doing a damage and drawing a card basically whenever is pretty sweet. Like at one point throughout the game.
They can just
Yeah,
play Arcane
and you
Barrier
have like
now.
you also have like a non-zero amount of deck velocity increase too, where like both the blue card if you're casting it and the tutor card for Skizik, they're just like thinning your deck to make you draw the better cards faster than your opponent. It's
Yeah.
like non-zero.
No, I'm down.
Cool. Anyone have opinions on where we go next?
I think that there's another hero that should go in the S tier, and I
Yeah.
think it's an assassin, and it's not one of the assassins that gets fatigued.
I think we don't have an issue with how long our videos are, so you could just say the name.
Oh, okay, it's new.
Okay, nice.
I definitely don't think new is S tier.
I don't think so.
I think
either.
new is S tier.
Yeah.
You literally have like matchups that
It's
are
close.
like pretty hard to play.
Yeah,
and
I think
you're like half favored into the aggro decks. Like there's just no world.
new is like only has like one like bad matchup.
Yeah. We were
And I think-
defining the tiers as like A tier beats some of the S tiers. If you're in the S tier, you don't necessarily have to beat the other S tiers. But I think like new it should be an S tier because it beats everything in like A and below.
Yeah, like I think outside of like illusionists, I think new just like is favored or just like absolutely stomps like a bunch of the other decks in like A or B tier. Like there are some decks where maybe she's slightly behind, but her deck always has this like extra boost of like every matchup is just like they might misplay and mess it up, or they could make a mistake, or they could miss sideboard, or their deck could just be built like where their ratios are off because of, having to side out blues, and then you get extra percentage points there. Like, there's just so much that the deck does for like being a tournament deck and for being a deck that you actually play. Like, I don't know. It's just there's a couple bad matchups, and then everything else is just like you're doing powerful things that can cancel out whatever powerful things they do. Like, Aurora can draw as well as she wants, but if New draws the nuts, like, New's gonna win.
Yeah, like your nuts in New are like they can't race you back. Like your God Hand counters their God Hand for the most part because they can't like do anything to stop it.
Yeah, when New draws hot, she wins. It's just like not like decks can't unless you're like a deck like,
and she wins like even if you're down like 30-10,
Yeah,
like it actually just doesn't matter.
Yeah, so I think she just like has to be S tier because I think she's just like she's one of those decks. She's so good at what she does that it's almost like an illusionist, where like some decks just deterministically lose to her. But like she's not an illusionist. Like it's one of the only decks that we've ever seen like this since like Ice existed, where like she's so good at just disrupting you consistently and eventually fatiguing basically everybody that like half the decks in the game are just not really allowed to be played because of New. It's like Icelander back in her heyday. Like even when Lexi was the best deck,
but I will put it here for now.
I think it's like Icelander when Lexi was the best deck. Like it's not nearly as powerful perhaps as quite the best decks, but it gets so many extra edges that it's just like it's S tier.
And also you have to think about some of the other decks in S tier. They only are playing like an A tier deck because of the cards they have to side out.
Yeah. Yeah, like Zen.
So like, even if they're S tier in a vacuum, they're not S tier when they're playing against New.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Then if you're gonna put that one in S tier, I'm putting Zen in S tier.
Oh, Zen don't play for sure. Like, do not waste your time. This man is LLing.
Well, you could say
such
don't
a bad
test,
time
but
investment.
that doesn't mean it's don't play.
Wait, you're gonna put Zen in S tier?
Yeah, but if you're playing him, you're playing him without practice.
He is favored in almost
he's
every
at the
match
top
in
of
the
S
game.
tier.
Yeah, like he is favored into the other two people in S tier, and he's going to be favored into a bunch of other people pretty soon that we put on the list.
This is just like people are
really
like not taking us seriously. Like this is, I don't know. Like I just refuse to like. Come on, like what? He's good, but like I just don't think he's like inconsistent aggro deck still. He's inconsistent aggro deck that.
He's probably the most consistent aggro deck.
Yeah, he's really not, man. Like his
his
normal game plan just wins the game against every deck if you draw it.
I think against some of the decks, that's true. Like I think against stuff like Viscerai, and I think Aurora is an exception, where like the games have a little bit of length and you have the ability to block and make them go a little bit longer, and you have a little bit more control. And so it feels like a little bit less variance based, but into stuff like Syndra, like I don't know that you can do a whole lot there to just.
It's like heavily favored into Syndra. What are you talking about? Like all the
stats
but
also cheat.
You're just like hoping you draw chi, which like you're pretty likely to do, but
you're extremely likely to do.
You also have a fridge. Copies. You also have a Zen State token. Like it's just like he's so good. He just also blocks.
And you only have to draw one chi because then you just 2 to the second and they're dead.
Yeah. His failure states are more tilting than other decks. So maybe that's an issue for some people.
That's I think his failure states are just like high. Like I think that the deck just kind of more so than most other decks right now just like doesn't really play a lot of the time. And I feel like that's where I don't know that the deck's power level is high enough that I would put it in S tier. Whereas like the other two decks, like I think power level alone they belong there. And then I also think they have good matchup spreads. I think Zen is like power level is easy A tier, not close, and he has
his matchup spread is
pretty good matchup.
Like
spread.
his matchup spread is absolutely S tier.
Maybe I think you're like slightly ahead into all these. I think it's like
that's great. That's a great place to be.
No, it's kind of hard to take that tournament sometimes. I don't know that I want to be like 55% into everyone.
That's a great place to be. Yes,
this is the exact same thing we did the last tier list. You made the same point. We're like, of course we want that. Why would you not want to be favored into every deck you play against?
Yeah. Okay.
There's no way you can refute that argument, man. He's got to be S.
No, I don't know. I feel like
he's an incredibly weak S tier, but by all metrics, he's S tier because he is favored into almost everything.
Move him from the top.
He's
doesn't
favored into
belong
the
there.
other two S tier.
He doesn't belong there.
I could see a world where Aurora is a little higher, just due to kind of like consistency.
Maybe. I'd have to.
I
run
just
more of
don't think the
match,
deck
but-
is as good as you guys think it is. But
Next. I gave you new. You're gonna give us Zen.
Okay.
Sure.
Next is Prism.
Next is Prism.
Oh, I say next because I think it's also S.
yeah, I was gonna say I don't want to like clutter up the tier, but like,
Oh yeah.
No,
It
it's
is-
absolutely not us. It has
Oh, here
a
we go
major.
again, dude.
It has a major failure where the deck just dies a decent percentage of the time. The
Yeah.
deck is unfunctional. It's
I
100%
actually-
A tier.
I actually agree. I think the popper problem is why I put it in A tier. I think that right now with the way the deck is built, you have such a weakness to whatever deck you're playing like 3 to 6 more poppers than they normally would, especially if they're sevens. Like any matchup that you take, I think can just increase their win percentage by like 10 to 15% by just throwing like 2 to 3 sevens in their deck.
Yeah.
And that's
if you
just like
ask-
super rough. Because I also think it scales, like not directly, but I think you can increase your Prism matchup by like 20% with a lot of decks with like some sideboard space, which is kind of scary as Prism. Because it's also like a deck that kind of has a target on its back, and the way that you attack Prism is something that people get drawn to a lot. Like you
Yeah, I think
hear
it's
oftentimes when people are building out their sideboard, since poppers are like the highest impact sideboard cards you can have basically in the game, people are very likely to just more often than other sideboard cards, more often than other silver bullets, play poppers for you. It just feels like everybody always has them.
You don't think it's realistic to make a Prism deck more focused around board state and like minimizing the effect of poppers?
No.
Okay.
Not currently.
So that's simple enough.
I think it's I think the
Maybe some
problem
matchups,
is
but
that
like, it's not going to cut it, right?
without tome, it's just like you can't really aura spam, and if you're trying to play auras more slowly in this meta, you just die. I think is the even like the more disruptive decks like new will just kill you if you're trying to
Like
do aura based.
Prism is S tier power. Like it's like SS tier power level when she's just like doing her thing. Her numbers are amazing. Her math is amazing. The stuff that she's allowed to do in the current game is just like above what other decks are allowed to do. But due to the fact that she has the massive popper weakness, she also just draws hands that are unfunctional. Ask any Prism player, you will just lose games because your deck just draws the wrong cards. Like you have 0 blocks, you have terrible cards. Like you can just draw Figments. You'll just lose
Yeah,
games.
to be fair, I think after playing a lot of Prism, I think that happens a similar amount to how it does in other decks. It just feels worse with Prism because in other decks, it's like you draw 3 hands in a row that are like all blue, and it like is game losing, but it feels bad. Whereas like Prism, it happens I think less, but when you do it, you like block half and play Figment and pass, and so like it feels worse. But I think it's close to the amount of like games that you lose due to draw variance.
I just think she's too well known right now. Like she's like Kano, right? So I think Kano might actually be up because people are gonna sideboard for Prism, and you got to cut something, right?
Yeah, I think Kano gets better from that, but I still think people are just gonna be respecting it. Like people aren't gonna cut AB, I think, because of Verdance. Like
It's hard to
Verdance,
fit AB and 3 sevens for a lot of decks.
for some decks it's tricky.
I don't know. I think most of the aggro decks, like you have space to just do whatever because like your normal game plan is
Yeah.
pretty linear.
Yeah, if you have 60 card main deck, it's easy.
I've
Okay.
not found this to be the case.
Oh, I'm struggling with it hard in the decks I make, but that's
That's
just
what I'm
that's
saying.
how
I
it
need,
is.
like,
at
I
least
start with like a
20 more
200 card
sideboards.
pile, so that's what makes it hard. But
We also build decks a lot more carefully than a lot of people do. Like other people aren't worried about like ratios into every matchup and like covering their bases and like making sure that they actually sub like a playable deck. Like
I
they
don't
just
buy
want
it.
3 more
This is
poppers.
the
for
Proto
Prism.
we're talking about.
no, that's actually so true. Like people literally just say like, "Oh, this card's good in a matchup," and they just like put it in. They don't think about like, "Oh, I need to make sure I
Yeah.
still have a ratio of go
Yeah,
against."
I had somebody side like 63 sub like 63 cards into me once. I asked them why, and they were like, "My whole sideboard is for this matchup. I just didn't know what to cut." And it's like that's kind of stuff that like just kind of happens, even though it should never happen, of course.
Okay, next hero. What are we thinking? Anyone?
I was just talking about Verdance, so we can talk about that now.
Sure.
She's had really good results recently at some battle hardened level, like calling level events. So I think she deserves to be somewhere around A tier. I think she's really powerful into a lot of the aggro decks of the format, like Aurora, Syndra, Zen, stuff like that. I think she has a lot of game. And I also think she's just a super powerful deck that does super powerful things and can beat most heroes. Illusionists and New
Bro.
in particular
We
are
need a
like,
wet noodle tier. I feel like she's wet noodle. She like
But
doesn't do
she's-
anything super powerful unless it's like a very specific thing. Like it's like either the healing potion stack, like super powerful thing, or like keeping around a tree for multiple turns is pretty good. But I think on the
no,
whole,
that's not
like,
true. You do other powerful stuff. Like once you're turned on, like Ring of Roses is crazy. It's just
okay,
like
you have ring, sure, one
you have
card.
a bunch of cards that are just like these above average value things that are really hard to deal with and are basically all true damage.
No, Noah, when you're playing Verdance against aggro decks, her win condition is the simplest thing you've ever played. It's just Felling of the Crown. Like,
Yeah, dude.
you play Felling, and then you activate your helmet on the next turn and pick up Felling again, and then you play Felling again, and then you
Yeah.
basically win like most of your aggro matches.
Yeah, you play like 3 to 4 Fellings in like every game.
It's not like you laugh, but like it
Yeah.
is incredibly powerful. It's like
And
really
then-
annoying.
And then at the end of the game, you just have Stormstriders that does like 4 to
damage.
10 damage.
Yeah, I've been really
Yeah.
impressed with Verdance lately.
Like I actually think
I'm
the
a
deck is
believer.
super strong. I think the deck is like
Yeah.
is going to be one of the best decks, but Prism, Enigma, and New are really hard matchups that are at the top of the meta. I think that's basically the only thing right now that's like
So then she has to be B tier then, because by our
I think
definition, A
she's
should be able to
B
beat
tier
S.
because she's incredibly powerful with massive holes in her meta spread. That's my worry.
I could see that. I think it's enough where like I think you can register her because I do think that she does really target some decks that I think are very popular, like the aggro decks in particular. Like I think into Aurora and Syndra, she's pretty good.
And we can move her up if it turns out like there's only like not enough decks that she's weak against. And
I think it's just 3. I think like the only relevant ones are the 2 Illusionists and New. I think all the other like medium matchups that she has are not super important or just don't exist.
maybe. But I'm fine with revisiting this, but it does
That's fine,
feel
yeah.
it's like in that category. But I agree. Verdance is very good. It was on my list for Pro Tour until I played the new matchup and said, never mind.
Yeah.
I'm not willing to live in that world.
Do we want to talk about
She is why I started playing New. I was playing Verdance and I was like, I'm gonna bring this to my RTNs. And then I was like kept running into news and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just be New. And then I just decided to bring that to RTNs.
We should probably talk about Syndra, right?
We should probably talk about
every
Syndra.
hero.
Yeah.
I mean,
this
we're
dog-
crafting our meta, right?
This dog hero.
She's
called
like
Syndra.
B minus.
She's like
tier.
It's
Dude, I
definitely
just don't
A.
know.
she's got to be A, right? The people will kill us if we don't put her in A. She just won 2 callings.
I just don't believe it at the moment.
Well, she won 2 callings, I think, when people had no idea how to play against the deck.
That's true.
Yeah,
Now that was
I
before
agree.
everybody and their mother was playing Shelter and Calming Breeze. And
Correct. I really think she's B tier. Like she's
Yeah, I think so
strong.
too.
She has some
She's
things
so
she's
very
good into, but,
linear.
like,
Mhm.
so linear.
You just like have to draw the big numbers too. It's like when you're only attacking for 3s and 4s, like your deck's is bad, I think.
Yeah.
Against any deck that can like profitably block a card or 2. But then if you're playing like only 4s and ending on a 1 for 7 that costs you 0 every turn, yeah, your deck's kind of nuts.
She does leverage Mask very well. That gives her a lot of power. I'm actually moving Verdance up because she can't be in the same tier as Syndra. That's just insulting to Verdance. I don't think you can disagree. Like Verdance is so much better than Syndra.
I disagree completely, but okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know
I think
about that
that-
one.
Yeah.
Like the thing about being linear is that you're also linear and consistent. So
You
like,
literally do the same thing every turn. Verdance is
Yeah,
like you're talking about your game plan is throw Felling every turn. Brother, you got 3
No,
like,
just for
5
some of
Fellings.
your aggro matches, and then it changes on every match. So some matches just like play Seeds of Tomorrow from your helmet, and you're just like good enough.
yeah, but, like Verdance needs to like draw things in the right order. If your opponent CNCs and you have all of your carapaces, you're just a clown and you.
It's just like the way Earth heroes are built now. I feel like it's so hard for them to actually be A or S tier, just because they have to do like the
No.
minigame.
No,
Yeah.
I think the way that some of the Verdance decks, at least that I've been messing with, play, it's not that way. I think if you build your deck to be like, it's basically like half. It's like a third decompose, a third is cards that don't care about decompose, and then like a third is like payoffs, usually in your resource slot. It actually like feels pretty smooth, where like you're always either decomposing or like doing something else, like playing trees and spells where you don't really care about decompose. Or
But that's so much less consistent than 90% of your deck is. attack with go again, and 10% is
Yeah,
finishing big
it's just like infinitely more powerful, right? That's like always the trade off. Like you're just like doing good stuff instead of doing like kind of underwhelming stuff, because like you just get to do like some pretty broken shit.
Okay, next hero. Let's
Should we
do
talk about
Mario.
Fi? Oh,
Oh yeah, fine. We'll do Fi.
Yeah.
You want to talk about Fi? Let's talk about Fi.
I do. Dude, Fi's really, really powerful. Don't play him.
I 100% agree.
It's
This
it's,
deck,
it's mostly new, right? It's just like kind of hopeless. It feels like.
Yeah, I think Fi is B tier, and it's really tragic because
No, he's for sure don't play for Pro Tour. Like, there's just too much graveyard hate in the top of the meta, right?
Yeah.
yeah,
It's like
I think
Syndra,
it's just new.
but worse.
I think it's just new. It's just like you just can't. It's not even just graveyard hate. It's like graveyard hate and like disruption.
Yeah, because he
Like,
needs to scale his hands
yeah, it's
at some
just
point
like,
to like win the game.
yeah, it's just. I played a bunch with it, and I won like every game I played except new. Is just like,
Yeah, I think once
Game's
new
right.
allows, he's like pushing A tier.
yeah, I think he's pretty great. I think he's really good actually. I just think it's like he's poorly positioned, and he has some other matchups that are just all kind of like flippy-ish that it's just probably not worth. But I do think you race the other aggro decks super.
It can't be
well.
in don't play then.
No, I think he's B tier. I think he is a good
It has
deck.
to be
I think it's better than Syndra.
I think he's don't play. Like new is just unplayable. He's not beating Zen like almost ever. I think.
I think that's like it for the most part. I think most of the other top decks are pretty beatable. Maybe
Yeah.
Prism's hard, but I assume a lot of your sideboard is for Prism.
Prism's hard. Azalea should be really bad once we.
No,
get there.
Azalea is good. You're good into Azalea. I think.
I don't know about that one.
I strongly disagree.
Every time we've tested
Unless you're
it,
playing like a Syndra cosplay where you're just doing the max thing.
every time we've tested it, just playing normal, it's felt like Fi is ahead. We did this a while ago, and we did this more recently. But regardless, I think B tier. I just think he's like super powerful at like doing what he does. So he's a fine choice. Like I think you're gonna race Aurora and Syndra a lot of the time. You probably play Poppers for Prism. I whatever you guys say about Zen, it's not gonna be super popular. I don't think. Just because of the LL thing by itself, if nothing else, aside from the fact that I just don't think it belongs up there. And then obviously you just like smush Enigma and stuff. I think B is fine. I would put him above Syndra, but you guys.
Yeah, that's fine if you're on the just dodge new plane.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the B tier. You have giant holes in your meta.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay. Basic Arachne is going to go and don't play. I just want to fire through a couple of these. Betsy's going to go and don't play.
Bravo.
Bravo goes and don't play. I know some people are having success with this fatigue thing, but you're not going to actually do it unless you're like 2 people in the world. And then you just get lucky matchups. I think Reinar is don't play.
Dash IE surely, right?
Dash IE is don't play.
Olympia, Max.
Tekla, Vossens don't play.
Max got to be there.
Max is don't play.
Olympia
is don't play.
Katsu.
Levia.
Katsu is don't play. Levias don't play.
All of the warriors can.
Kasai. Victor.
Don't play. Kasai.
Riptide.
Is Riptide don't play?
You can't play Riptide.
Riptide is like playable a little bit.
You can't play Riptide with Prism and Enigma. Like floating.
You could
around.
if you're like, are you silver bulleting anything?
That's the point of Silver Bullet, yeah. Like it's like the gem lottery tier.
What are you targeting? You also get smushed by Zen. You're targeting like new, maybe Aurora. I feel like Riptide actually probably isn't even that good into Aurora, unless you're like full fatigue. But then you have like no hope into Zen or Illusionist or Verdance.
New Aurora Syndra.
Maybe Aurora. Maybe. Yeah, new Aurora Syndra auto lose everything else. It's like no play.
We're just waiting for the Fang meta. Then Riptide will come in.
Yeah.
And
I guess if we're gonna make a silver bullet tier, maybe he goes in there, right?
Yeah.
He's like a copper bullet, you know. He's not.
Yeah, he's like
silver.
he's not quite to silver, but he's.
I'm also like not actually sold that he beats new. Like it feels like he really should when you think about it, but I think in practice new might be able to beat him, especially if she plays like Cosmic Awakening.
Well, you don't play.
Don't play Viserai. That's not a good idea. Don't play Victor. Come on. What are we doing?
Yeah, Victor's for sure don't
Victor
play.
is for sure don't play. Let's talk about Fang a little bit because I think Fang is B tier. This deck is incredibly powerful. It has matchups where it's actually good into, and then it has about half the meta that it can't play into.
That doesn't sound like B tier. That just
Okay.
sounds
That sounds like
shit.
Silver Bullet.
That sounds like don't
No.
play. I don't. If you can play into half the meta and you just can't play against the other half, that's kind of rough. Starting at
Yeah, but
50%,
every time
you even-
the half that you
Start-
play into, you're incredibly powerful.
yeah, but starting at a 50% win rate.
Hang
with
on,
a
isn't
powerful
he like
deck is
an
not a
assassin
desirable situation.
killer? Isn't
Like,
that
why
Yes.
don't I?
thing?
He's an assassin killer.
That's like a big part of the meta, right?
He's really good into the aggro decks.
Is he?
I don't
He's-
really know that that's true, but okay.
I don't know.
It's pretty accurate.
It's really hard in the early game, I found, to if they present on hits, you have to block. It's really difficult to generate fealty while also like blocking on hits in the early game.
Yeah,
If you like, yeah, if you can like make your fealty stack first, then you can block all the on hits you want. Like it doesn't matter. But I just think like accomplishing the quest, if you don't see like the literal pledge fealty type cards early, it's really tough into aggro decks. And you just
Well,
like can't put enough cards in your deck that just do the thing of making the fealty. Is my only problem to like see them consistently early enough.
Yeah, I just don't think the hero's real. I think it's don't play. I think to be fair, I think it could be like B tier if lists are proven out. I just think I haven't seen anything so
There's
far.
just like not enough cards in the card pool that allow you to do the quest early enough, in my opinion. Like you literally just sub. You could sub every single one that's legal, and like you're still not consistent enough.
I can't put this thing in don't play. It is significantly better than that, I think. And if you ran your good matchups, you would be very happy that you brought.
So that's Silver Bullet then, no? Like
Sure.
Silver Bullet to me is
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like
yeah.
you run your good matchups and you top.
Yeah, let's do that. I'm fine with it being in Silver Bullet and way higher than
Yeah.
Riptide and Silver Bullet.
Looks good.
Okay.
Should we put
Where does-
Florian in don't play?
Where does Slippy go?
I think it's don't play.
I also think
I
this is
think-
don't play.
Oh, okay.
I played it. I don't even
Go
think
ahead.
it's because of the assassin mirrors.
I don't know. I'm not going to fight for it.
I think those.
I'll go
I think
with
the
it.
deck's just like just kind of bad. Like I think it just has a lot of the same issues that Marionette has, but it starts at 33 health, gets blocked really easily, and just like gets pushed by
Why are
any
you saying
deck.
it starts at 33?
I think I said 38, right? Did I not?
You said
Oh, it's-
33.
Oh, I meant to
But
say
yeah.
38. I'm sorry.
Okay. fine.
But like any deck that's playing like Shelter and Calming Breeze, like messes this deck up even harder because like the only powerful thing you do better than anyone else in the game is Toxicity Kiss of Death. It's like the only thing that you do super impressive. I mean, other Kiss of Death interactions, right? Like with Spike of Blood Rot and stuff, you can do some cute stuff. But really, like when Flick Knives doesn't connect, the deck just looks bad. I think, which also
you're
means
also,
you
like-
can draw Kiss of Death. I think.
Yeah, you're also number one, you have to draw the specific card, and number two, you're more vulnerable to disruption because in order to do a play like that, you have to keep 3 cards.
Mhm. Yeah.
So yeah, it seems tough.
And also like Mario is surely unwinnable, and surely
It is.
new is also really
Yeah.
hard. I think new is hard just because of her being new, and then also you give her stuff go again, and it's just like even.
Okay.
even more rough.
A lot of people got angry with us about how
Dude, I got angry with you guys.
our take on Mario. So
I want a
Dan,
1v1.
Dan, where does
Yep.
Mario go?
Yeah, honestly, I didn't stick with him long enough to prove it out. I think he's either A tier or he's don't play tier, and I don't know which one he falls into yet. He just feels so exploitable, and I guess it depends on like the deck you're playing against. I don't know, like power wise, he's for sure A tier. But if there's a lot of DBX in the meta, people are like blocking correctly, like over blocking correctly. I think he.
See-
I think
Mario-
Mario.
Go ahead, dude.
I think Mario is like Prism, where like all your cards have Phantasm, but like instead of all of them doing something when they hit, like only sometimes it matters. But like still, all your stuff has Phantasm because like it all still just gets like blown out by the reacts, where like your cards are really bad. But like only sometimes do you actually do something on hit.
Yeah, like you
Oh,
have some sidesteps, but not enough sidestep.
So where are we putting Mario?
Don't play.
I think he's A tier.
I would put him in A tier for now.
I think one caveat to him in contrast to what I said with Fang, I think he actually does have the card pool to make him good.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah, his
you
card
have
pool's insane.
you have like significantly different directions to take the deck. So yeah, I think he should be an A.
Yeah, especially if you can like solve for the fatiguey, slow groundy matches. I think he's very strong.
I will say this though. I think there's potential that he's in don't play.
Mhm.
If he gets solved and he can't counter the solve.
Yeah.
I think what's
That's my
happening right now,
concern.
what's happening right now with Mario, and this is my experience from playing as Mario, is that like my game plan, how I was playing into Mario was more advanced than where the Mario's game plan was at. And so the matchup was free for me. I'm assuming they're eventually going to catch up, and then I might have to reevaluate, and then we'll see where we end up after that. It's kind
Sounds like we should play some games because I played one RTN and significantly changed my Mario strategies throughout the day based on everyone and every game trying to deny all of my mark effects.
Yeah.
I went to pitch stack real quick.
Cool. I'm fine with putting him in A, where he is very strong, but he has issues.
This is just ridiculous. You guys are ridiculous people. Come on. Like this, there's no way this hero is better than Verdant's and both.
It's so much better than Verdant's, dude.
It literally
Yeah,
has
so
Codex of Frailty in the pool.
Yeah, it has
That's
Codex.
all you need
Dude.
to be better
Codex
than
is
Verdant's.
immediate B tier.
Dude, Rampant
At least.
Growth is just Codex of Frailty, but it makes
Rampant
bad
Growth
cards.
is
Yeah.
a terrible card. It's just good because like you have these other cards that support it, and you have to keep a fat hand.
Codex
Okay.
of Frailty doesn't amp 9 3 times.
Codex of
alright?
Frailty says you play the card, your opponent loses 2 cards, and you lose 0 cards, and you also
You
heal
haven't
life.
killed enough people from 70.
Okay,
Yeah,
let's
no
go
more
talk
Rampant
about a really easy hero. I'm sure we'll all
They
agree
just
on.
would never get to 70 if Codex of Frailty was in my deck, but yeah.
Where does Azalea go?
A tier. She's above
Yeah, like,
Mario.
easy
Please
A
don't put
tier,
her
right?
below Mario.
Yeah, she's above Mario.
Yeah, she's
We'll give
easy
you that.
A tier.
She plays Codex.
Yeah, she
Yeah,
also
she does play Codex.
Yeah, I agree. She's A tier. So I don't remember who mentioned it, but we were on RTN and they said sometimes Azalea is S tier and sometimes Azalea is D tier, depending on how the game goes. And I kind of agree with that.
I also think that people are cutting Warmongers. If you
Yep.
look at every other deck we've talked about so far, and every other deck for the most part that we're going to talk about, with the exception of like Vincent and Dio, basically Warmongers is bad against. And a lot of the decks right now that can play Warmongers are just not. And people are just kind of coming around to the idea that like it's not a card that you need to play. It's kind of only good into Azalea out of like most of the super relevant decks. So I think that that's like another big deal for her is that she can do that. I also think Azalea is a deck that needs to be blown up. Like it's a deck that people haven't kind of reinvented in a while, and there's a lot of really powerful stuff that has come out. Like there's a lot of cool aim counter stuff that you can do, even just without Great Bow, even just like small engines of aim counters with like the arms and just using Quiver. She also got new tools recently, I think, to deal with like wizards as well, which is not irrelevant. Like the new Quiver, that's just like Spell Void 1 is actually, I think, a pretty big deal in some of those matchups. So.
Yeah, she can counter the Verdant's Menace, you know? Since apparently, yeah, it's such a meta killer.
Let's talk about Dory. Specifically, we're going to just talk about Dawnblade because that's kind of what's being played. I think this is a silver bullet deck. Like, I think it's good into the aggro decks. It's bad into everything else. Anyone disagree with that?
It gets like a little bit dubious if Aurora is on like face perk.
Sure.
There's just like a free reset, and the game is short enough to where that one reset probably just loses you the game.
Yeah, Dory also doesn't block Arcane super well historically.
Yeah,
which could be a problem. But
I think if she sees the matchup she wants to see, then she can have a good run. But that's about it.
Yeah.
So wait, if you're
I don't think
warrior,
I believe this.
If you're a warrior person, who are you playing? Are you just like switching to Fang, playing Dory?
I'm
or
probably
just, like
honestly, if someone said you have to play,
I play Hatchet Dory every day.
No. If you have to play warrior at this Pro Tour, I would play Fang.
I would play Fang.
Yeah. You don't think Kasai is somewhat reasonable either?
No, I'd play Fang.
I'd play Hatchet Dory.
Okay, fair.
It's not fair at all. That's a ridiculous statement. Come on.
This one I actually don't know. Where does Dio go? Dio is not as bad as people think Dio is.
Oh,
But where does Dio go?
Don't
in my
play.
heart, I want to put Dio and don't play because I hope people listen to us. But if I want to say the factualness of the matter, it's like probably A. I feel like she's like so slept on. Dude, Dio's OP. Dio just like explodes you.
Dio's
And the
very
games
strong.
are so short with Dio that like you have to find your cards against her in the top like 3-4 turns, otherwise you just die.
So
I just like look at the top of the meta. I see like Zen, New, Prism, 2 Rangers / Assassins that have access to a lot of cards that kind of counter Dio. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, even Aurora, I would expect to be favored now.
Yeah, I would guess so too.
Like
You think
High Octane
Aurora would
was
be
always
favored in Dio?
the swing card. Yeah.
I don't know about that. I mean,
I don't know about that.
I wanna preference a couple things about Dio. Dio's Zen matchup is significantly better now because they can call Chi.
Yeah, they have
with
null time zone.
Null,
Like, that
null
card's
time
OP.
zone.
Oh, that's true.
When you're attempting to block out Dio, what they do with null time zone is they just look at your discard pile. The game's getting like late, and the games are always pretty close when you're trying to fatigue them anyway. But they just look at your discard pile, and then they call whatever D-react you haven't played enough of yet.
Yeah.
And some percentage of the time in the end of the game, you just draw the D-react. You have literally one less card that you're able to resolve in your hand, and they just like kill you. Like it's like significantly improved their fatigue matchup. Like when it's random decks trying to fatigue, not like a full fatigue deck.
Mhm.
And every deck
Yeah.
is running like 3 shelter or 3 sync right now. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like
I've also seen
actually a
some
big deal.
people play the Pheno spoiler card Stasis Cell. It's like a way of turning off flick knives. It's like
Mhm.
pretty cute like thing you can play off the top. It's like another like part of their blue base that facilitates your game plan and turns off theirs. And
Yeah.
I think I just want to caveat too that like this my saying that it's an A tier is for like a DL master. I don't think it's like if you start playing it for the first time today that it'll be performing at an A tier level for you at the Pro Tour, but in terms of like in a vacuum with a good pilot, I think it's A tier.
Yeah, I think it's a very strong deck that has some major weaknesses.
Yeah. I just hate playing against it though, so for my sake, don't play it, please.
And it's pretty flippy into new, to be honest. Like if new can get the blender going, the game works. But there's quite often where you can't get the blender going, and you're just like on the blocking path, and it's like a big problem as new.
And they have huge fridge. Like Dio blocks a lot.
That's been my experience. And the Zen matchup feels really annoying now to play into Dio when they just call Chi. Okay.
Yeah, I'm convinced.
Yeah, it's deck's kind of slept on a little bit. Enigma. Dude, what is this that good into anymore? Let's go through it. Zen? No. Aurora is supposed to be good. New? It's definitely good into new. I don't care what the new people say. It's definitely good into
I think
new.
the Aurora being good is like 45%.
Yeah, I know. I kind of don't agree with that anymore.
It's like winnable, which is good for an aggro matchup.
I think you're up into Zen with new cards. I think with quick dodge flexors and shelter, you're probably ahead into Zen.
There's no shot.
I don't think that's accurate at all. I think it's still like 40-45%. At best.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think you're gonna win an argument of someone being better than Zen on this channel, Lucas.
Yeah. Dude, we have the
just doesn't
traverse
happen.
counter, which is traverse.
Yeah. Of course. My bad. I just hope the people know that like Noah and I understand that this is ridiculous. Like,
Yeah.
come on.
No, you think Enigma is good into Zen?
I mean, do you guys have evidence that
like really?
Enigma is favored?
I don't-
Zen?
I
I'd
just
love
don't
to see
think-
it.
I think Enigma is like P tier. I think she's bad.
Okay, well that wasn't the question. Do you think Enigma is good into Zen?
No, I don't think that she's good. To be good is like I'm winning more often than I'm losing. I don't know if that's
Correct.
true, but I don't think I'm losing significantly more often than I'm winning.
Yeah, I think it's around 50.
I think
I
it's
think
closer
it's like
to 20.
pilot dependent around 50.
You think it's 20%?
Closer to 20 than 50, not 20.
That's wild.
Well, it's okay to be wrong. I don't know.
Okay, it's good into Prism, right? We all can agree there.
Sure, maybe.
Probably. I think that there's a lot of technology on both sides. So like if the Prism's like super ready and the Enigma's not super ready, I could see Prism's having a good time in that matchup.
It's bad into Azalea.
Mhm.
It's good into Mario. Okay, so Good. Playable. I'll give you that. The Dio match, I'm assuming it's still good for Enigma, but
I
I'm
think it probably
unsure.
depends on the build.
Yeah,
It seems
has
like
to
the deck
depend
is
on the
just like
build.
super spread thin, is what it feels like.
It's
Like, so this feels like the ultimate silver bullet deck, because whatever Enigma deck you're playing is a silver bullet for something.
Okay, yeah. I think she's probably the top of silver bullet.
Yeah,
Not
I
in
think
the
you're
sense that
actually
she's
right.
below the rest. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't think that she's like below B tier, but I think she's silver bullet tier.
Yeah, what
Yeah.
half? Yeah, it's really depends on what half of the meta are you building your Enigma deck for. Because like you
Yeah.
can build
Yeah.
it to be much better into like Zen, Aurora, Syndra type of deck, Dio, or you can build it the other half where you're just like stomping on like the Assassins and Prism Verdants half of the meta. So I kind of agree with you. And then like you have the mirror to worry about as well, and that requires like a whole different subset of cards to be good in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We'll put her at the top of silver bullet for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I
You
agree.
think she's better than Fang though?
Yeah, of course she's better
Yes,
than Fang.
yeah, she's better than Fang.
Come on, man.
I
I
think
think
this rating's a
so.
little egregious, but I don't play Lucius, so I guess I'm good with it.
Dude, when you
No,
I don't know.
when you-
If you have Traversal Universe in your deck, you're at least 8
Yeah,
tier, like minimum,
exactly.
in
It's
my eyes.
like there's Codex and Traverse. Like if you have those cards in your deck, you're just like you have to be a playable deck.
This is like egregious, I think, but I don't play Illusionist, so I can't really dispute. But I play Traverse, so I can, I guess. She's 8
The issue is it's hard to be good into like the Assassin half of the meta and then also good into like the Syndra half of the meta. Like it's just hard to find a deck. Now, if someone can mix those two together, they're gonna have like a fucking S tier deck. But
Yeah, but even these matchups, like where your config isn't good, sometimes you just win because you have Traverse and you part the misspell cards.
I can agree.
This is true.
Everyone's favorite
Don't
Florian.
play.
No, he's not don't play, bro.
He's not
also
don't play
silver
anymore.
bullet.
Oh,
No,
what's the bullet for?
no, he's B
Yourself.
for sure, right?
What are we beating?
So the bullets for yourself, bro? Are we allowed to say that on YouTube?
Wait, like what is Florian beating?
I don't know. I
That
can't
people are
beat it
actually
as
playing in
you.
a tournament.
Maybe I just suck.
Dude, I can't beat anything.
Oh,
when I
so you're
play
into
Florian.
Assassin.
I can't lose.
He's
to this
definitely
hero.
good into Assassin.
Yeah, like you just have.
Oh, he's good
infinite
into like.
defense. It's like what you think Verdance is what Florian actually is. Like you have all these defensive cards and like big dumb attack.
No.
But you-
I think the difference. I just don't think Florian is very robust.
It's just like-
Wait,
That's
should,
exactly what
he
you wanna
be
do with
playing
Verdance.
Plume for the aggro matchups?
Yeah, I think Plume is good tech in Florian. I think Florian's also super underexplored. Like I think current Florian lists like should not be played. But I think like you could probably make a list that is reasonable.
Yeah.
I just think the deck is like pretty inconsistent most of the time and it's kind of middling into everything. It's just like even the good matchups, like I don't think you're that good. Yeah, that's fine.
I don't think I can't in any good conscience put it in that tier.
Put it above.
Yeah, you guys are
It's-
completely
It's just
tripping.
because
there.
how we have it there. Like I
Put it
Yeah,
I don't
above
view it as
Mario.
below the others. It's
Come
just
on.
it's in silver bullet.
Mario does not belong above Enigma. Come on. Put Enigma above Mario. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Traverse is greater than.
Can we get Mario out of there? He's 3 tiers too high. Like, what is he doing up there?
He's
He might-
casting Codex of
He,
Frailty.
he,
and
Yeah, but
invalidating
he's
your
getting
last
back
turn.
like
he might,
infect.
he might get moved to B tier as we continue. But
He's getting back like infect. Like
Yeah.
I don't
yeah,
understand.
he might
Would
be
you never
working
get
his-
back in fact? That's
Might
not a
work
real
his way
play.
down.
No, you're getting back
Okay.
like Kiss of Death.
I've moved Enigma to A tier for the people listening at home. We have placed Florian in B tier, where I think he belongs.
Yeah.
Ira. No one talks about this deck. This is a deck that I don't even think people realize exists in the game. What do we think about Ira?
B.
I read
S
good.
plus.
It's
Minus,
actually pretty good.
minus.
Yeah, I haven't gotten the full meta picture, but she's for sure like A tier, I think.
For sure.
Like the meta slowed down a lot with Visceragon, and just like her value per turn is up there with everyone because of the +1. Buffing disruption is
And-
very good.
And what do we say?
Mario has moved to B tier now because Ira is moving to A tier.
Oh, I think Mario's stronger than Ira,
I don't think
I
so.
think so too.
like in a vacuum.
Ira,
gets
like,
+1
shits
sometimes
on
multiple times
Mario.
in a turn. Who cares about the matchup head to head? It's about the decks in it, like as they are.
Yeah, but Ira's good into like Enigma, good into the S tiers.
I think Ira's only. I don't know. People saying decks like Ira are good into Enigma. It's like totally dependent, like we said before, on how the Enigma is built.
But I think it's actually good into new, and I think it is actually pretty decent into Zen as well.
Yeah, her popper density is pretty nice too for Prism.
Yeah,
There's not a lot of
popper
decks in the
density for
meta that
Prism's pretty nice as well.
still get to just play a
Agreed.
bunch of poppers.
I just think the problem with Ira into like Zen type decks is like we were talking about with Traverse. Ira just doesn't have like that like flip the game on its head button.
Yeah, when I was playing Ira into
She
Zen,
kind of does, but not consistently.
The only way to do it is with dual threat, but then dual
Yeah.
threat is like a card that's contingent on you keeping 4 cards usually.
yeah, the
Well,
only
Well, it's
way I
like
was
dual threat
losing
or your
games-
disruption mattering is like a big
Yeah.
deal.
The only times I would lose games as Zen into Ira were the games where I like didn't draw multiple playable hands, or when their disruption lined up with like my only playable hands. Like when anybody does the thing, it just feels like they're better than you. Is my experience with Ira.
I think Ira's appeal is that she doesn't have a lot of bad matchups. Like her normal game plan is typically good enough if your opponent draws below average, and then the games where your disruption matters or you draw like 2 or 3 dual threats, you just run them over.
I don't like recommending decks that play weakest link and rely on it having text to like enter tournaments with that strategy. It's just like
Yeah, but like
inherently
when it
inconsistent
has
strategy.
text for the most part.
You don't know.
Like you play
That's,
you
like,
play
why
in
the
those
card
matches.
sucks. Like
I mean, you do
cast
against
it.
Zen if you're doing it with like 20 cards in deck, like it matters.
Yeah, I mean, if your game plan is to cast a red with 20 cards in deck, sure, like that's. I don't think it's like realistic to be like, oh, I'll just slide it on down there. It's not like you're pitching.
No, I
reds
meant on the
around.
Zen side. Like Zen turbos through his deck because he's banishing, right?
Yeah, he doesn't get to 20 cards against Ira. He
can.
might get to like 40, maybe.
He's probably losing the
Regardless,
game.
like once
but-
you flip, like once we're towards the second half of the game, like it's pretty live.
and Mask is real in that matchup on several turns as well. My thing about Ira is this deck is very good. It's very consistent. It has good value turns. It has one major issue.
Yeah.
When you get behind, you're just kind of behind. But if you go down,
Blocking's not great.
yeah, blocking cannot be good.
I don't know. I actually think it's really good at coming from behind because you're a deck that can do damage and disruption.
No, when
Like,
it's
if
going
you're
down
behind-
together, it's really good.
No. It's absolutely good at coming from behind. Like that's like part of the whole deck. Like that's how decks. The only decks that have ever been able to come from behind in this game are decks that disrupt while doing damage, like Icelander, New, Ira. Like when your disruption has text, you come from behind extremely well because you always can do like 5 to 6 damage before throwing your disruption, and that's like
I think the disruption is just like not super real.
I think that's a fair argument, but I think
Yeah,
like
like,
if you're
saying
playing
all her
Ira and you think
disruption-
the disruption is real, then the deck's absolutely good at coming from
Yeah,
behind.
but I don't think the disruption's real, and this is we're looking for our opinions. Like I just think all the disruption is too inconsistent. If they don't have an arsenal, you have a CNC, you look like a fool. If like the erase phase doesn't matter on that turn, you're also a fool. Like all your disruption is just too inconsistent. It's not like
I think
I'm going to
I
look
think
at your
erase-
hand and banish a card.
I think, well, to be fair, I think a lot of the time, especially when you're behind, like just gambling that your disruption is good is good enough. But I also think a race face is usually pretty live against like Aurora at least.
You
I mean,
could think that.
it also just has good math.
It's great math, yeah.
Yep, it's very consistent. Doesn't block well at all. I don't know.
I mean, it can be
It's
built
ARP.
to be blocked well, but it's not great.
Yeah. It depends on the version, right? If you're playing like the Shuko version.
That's I have no interest in playing the good at blocking version personally. I like to be able to convert my cards when I have
Can
them.
we like clip that? Can somebody make that a little clip for Dan saying that? I feel like that applies not only to Ira. I want to play the not good at. I don't want to play the good at
Wait. I
blocking
spend
version.
like a whole 2 weeks when we're working on Zen figuring out how I can get the 26 3-block in the deck for the Victor matchup.
Next deck.
Are we fine with it here, or we want to move it down?
That's fine. I would
I
probably
think
put
it's
it.
B, but
it's-
you can
I
keep
think
it.
it's
around
B,
there.
but you can put it there.
What did you say, Dan?
It's around there. If Zen's out of the meta, it's A. If Zen's in the meta, it's B.
Okay, wait.
That's
That's
I
like
have a
all of
question.
these decks, though.
Why do you keep sliding all these decks behind Verdance when like they were a tier above her? That just makes no sense.
Because Verdance
Like
is
put
so
Verdance
good.
down. Come on, she's not the queen of B.
The deck is so good. Like when you
The
play
deck
the
is
deck,
so
the
good.
deck is so good. Like the deck is legitimately like I
Yeah, I
think
believe
power
them, Noah.
level of the S tier decks. Like of the decks that are the most powerful, it is one of them in the game right now. It's just that like I think it's
So-
super robust as well. Like once your hero ability's on, you come back very well. You're very powerful. You're pretty
Wait,
consistent.
I know how to convince him. You know how we have the Codex and the Traverse tier? Think about the
You want a
Storm
felling
Striders
tier?
tier.
Oh,
No, Storm
Striders
Striders tier. Like, surely that's above those.
Also felling.
I don't know. I'm not a
Noah,
believer in the Storm Striders tier right now.
No,
I don't
you
think
need to
you're
play
getting
some
enough.
games against Julian. Like,
No, you need to play some games against me.
sure.
Okay, let's go.
I'll learn you.
Well, the problem is I'll be playing new, so I need to be playing a different hero.
That one is hard. Although we could play
Yeah.
some games in that matchup if
No.
if you need to learn it.
I don't need my opinion of Verdant's lowered even further. I'll play a different hero.
Okay,
I'm pretty sure if you don't 40 Verdant's is new, you did something wrong. But anyways, continue.
where is this Jarl deck at?
I haven't done any exploration for it. It could be like S++, but I don't think so. I think it's probably like B tier. I think it's probably B tier.
It could be B tier. It's probably don't play is where I would put it.
Yeah, it could be B tier, but it's probably
I no, it's Silver Bullet. It's like the definition of a Silver Bullet deck. I think if Illusionist
That's
is
fine.
not in the meta, it's the best deck.
Yeah. Oh, I don't.
Well,
agree
that's not-
with that.
that's
That's
fine.
not true. But
That's my opinion. I know other people are going to disagree. I think you're up into New, you're up into Zen, you're up into Azalea, and then I think like Aurora, Syndra, Dio are just like
So
like
like
not, you don't even play the game. Like you just win, you just kill them. Like,
you know how we talk about heroes having comeback potential? I think Jarl has the biggest comeback potential of all. If your opponent blocks with an equipment, you just like win the game.
yeah,
Like if your opponent decides to throw the game and block with an equipment, like you just
Well, it's
win.
not a comeback, but yeah,
when
I
I
agree
play,
with that. For
when
sure.
I play Jarl, it does feel like you get control in games that you're losing a lot. Like you do come back a lot with that deck, especially if you're playing like some of the versions with like Summit, where you can just basically lock somebody out for the rest of the game and just fatigue them because they have to block with 3 cards every turn, or they just like don't have another choice.
Cool.
No,
Like
I
I
agree.
think
You can be down a lot, and like if they have an open equipment slot or two, and then you open hold, you can come back from like 20, 30 health deficit.
And you can also just like fatigue people. Like you can fatigue them or kill them and threaten both. I think the hero is also close to deterministic in some of its good matchups. The problem is just that it's also close to deterministic in its bad matchups. So it's not probably in the best spot right now.
That's the definition of Silver Bullet. It's fun.
Just to recap, Ira has been moved to B tier, and we have Jarl and Silver Bullet. Okay, where does Kano go, and why should people not play him?
They should not play him because he goes in the don't play tier.
We need a tier with Dio and Kano. Just like all those decks that like if you're sitting across from them, you're not having a good time. But they're not necessarily the best decks.
I just think Kano's just kind of bad. Like every game I see Kano win nowadays, I'm like, oh, how did the Kano win? Then I look at the game, it's like, oh, they Kano'd and Red Open the Floodgates was on top. It's like, oh, okay. It's like, what happened? Oh, they Kano'd and they like hit their rags every game for 7 rounds, and like they never Kano'd into Will, and like they always hit reds off the top with Kano, and they drew blues off Open the Floodgates. Like there's just so much that's just like they kindled into a blue every time, and like there's stuff that you can reduce variance, but man, I never hear, oh, it's okay, we played a good game, and then it was about time they comboed me out. It's always like they 50'd me when I was at 20, or they did 10 to me and passed. Like I don't know, I just don't think that hero is real now. It's just all too reliant on variance, I think.
All the Kanos have rejoiced because we have put them in don't play tier, so maybe they'll get the
well, but the thing is, we refuse to move Verdance from the top of B tier, so the AB stays in people's decks.
Yeah. How about KO? Dan, you played KO.
I sure did.
You would only play S tier heroes. So where does KO go?
No. I cannot play my SD hero because he's going away. Where does KO go? What a question.
Well, let's look at this. KO's match to Zen, I think, is actually decent.
Yeah, we disagree there, but I can see it.
No, I think KO stopped Zen.
I think KO's good into Zen, but
yeah, the only problem with Zen, like when I played him before, the only problem was just like Bond's nut all over your face. But like now that's not a thing.
No,
Your disruption,
I think KO,
you have like so much more time.
Yeah, and your defensive cards are like so bad, and KO just like punishes all of your like, I'm gonna block 3 cards and set a card because this was awkward turns, and his armor just deals with your.
I think block 3 cards is great against KO.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's actually just the optimal.
That's like the best play against KO.
Yeah.
No, I think of the decks where like that's what you would want to do. He's one of the best decks at punishing it.
No, he's the worst. Dude, he's gonna roll scabs and then you win the game.
Or to lose the game.
This is like the exact play pattern. I was telling all my opponents at Armory, this is how you beat KO. You just block when he doesn't have agility.
Okay. KO versus Aurora. I have no idea.
I expect
Literally.
that to be quite bad.
In general,
Okay.
KO into just like as a
just
heuristic,
trying to, like,
KO
luck
into
sack.
split damage decks is just like bad. You're just like
Okay.
never good at.
Yeah, you're trying to like
winning
luck
this.
sack with your sash and just blow them up.
Okay. New. It's fine.
I think it's pretty good. Yeah.
This matchup's
Yeah,
fine.
I think it's like fair
Fine to
to
good.
pretty good.
Yeah, agreed.
You're comfy. Like you throw your 2 card big numbers. You
And
hope
then
to keep
Prism
a
is
big
free.
hand.
Prism's free.
Azalea, I
Azalea's
think it's pretty
fine.
good.
Azalea is
Yeah.
like pretty free
Yeah,
too.
post sash, it's I would think
don't.
Dio would be pretty good
I've
too,
never
right?
played Dio.
You have a bunch of armor, and they can't kill you from 30. So I would think that you would be pretty good in that matchup now.
And your disruption matters, right? Your 2 for 6s.
I also
Yeah.
don't think Dio's like a real deck that.
Yeah, I think Dio's probably pretty good. I agree.
And then Enigma, the deck's fine. It's fine into.
Yeah, now that they're not playing the like, remember when Misspell came out, we were mostly testing this because we thought KO was the best deck.
Yeah.
As long as they're not playing like the 0 cost auras, that was like the main issue the deck had, which I don't think Enigmas are playing. So
Yeah,
it
I
should
think
be
current
pretty-
builds of
pretty
Enigma.
decent.
Yeah, you're probably pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, because like cutting a lot of ward and
It's definitely
especially
good Verdance.
all the decks who like cut 0 for 4D reacts in favor of Calming Breeze, you just like punish them pretty hard for that. I think.
10K
It's
is
definitely-
pretty good though. They're all on 10K now, and that card's pretty
It's
good.
definitely good.
yeah,
Verdance,
10k
right?
is an issue. I agree.
I think it's bottom of A, honestly.
Yeah, I think he's bottom A, top B.
I agree. I agree with top of A or bottom.
It's
of
like
A.
if you're drawing well, he's definitely A. If you're drawing bad, he's like bottom B.
Yeah, so he's a really strong deck that has a major issue.
Yeah. And
And
if
you're
if
always
the
at
game's
least-
not going your way, just roll some dice.
That's
And
what to
then
say.
maybe
You're
you win.
always at least 50-50 because you can just roll. Yeah, hell yeah.
Okay, so KO
It's so
going
ridiculous.
into A tier.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, but please
Acilio.
don't play him.
Yeah, we need
Nobody
a new
wants you
tier
to
on the
roll your
next
dice.
tier list. We need like a Dio, KO, Kano, just like all these decks that please don't play them.
Acilio,
'cause I don't
too.
want them. Yeah, Acilio,
Yeah,
yeah, he's also in
Acilio.
that tier.
He is don't play.
I also
he's
think
with
he's
Kano.
don't play.
He's with Kano. He's very powerful. He does some broken shit, but don't play the 0.
I wouldn't fault you for playing Acilio.
I would. That's
There are a
okay.
couple
Well, he's like the
people-
type of deck that can like spike regardless of like what your opponent's doing, right?
I don't
Which
think you need a
has value.
spike like that at a Pro Tour because it's like split format, right? So it's like you just need a deck that can get you to like an X2 record.
It also like absolutely cares about what your opponent does. Like it's not Kano. Like you can't go off on their turn. Like if they just disrupt you every turn, like it doesn't matter how you draw.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, but
you
no one's
don't have
actually
draws
doing
that beat
that.
anybody.
It's not like
You
news in the
have
format.
draws that beat anybody that doesn't draw the weakest link. Like as long as they don't do that, as long as they don't draw a race face or CNC or any of the cards that are in every deck in the format, like as long as they don't draw any of those, then you're gaming.
Yeah,
Okay.
you just catch so many strays. It's like it's tough.
Azuri?
Yeah, that's fair.
And why?
Don't play Azuri.
And why should you not play?
No.
Azuri?
Azuri's at least B tier. It has Codex of Frailty.
No,
I think it's don't play.
this deck is terrible.
I just
It's so hard to resolve Codex in this deck.
It's don't play because it's not the other ones.
No, but I
it's
think
not
like
you.
I think the value of swapping in the 2 for 6 is like pretty relevant right now, where your opponent wants to play differently into each different one.
Wait, I have a new angle. I think Azuri's like right above Mario, because I think like instead of having like a medium hero ability that requires you to do a bad thing, you have like a pretty good hero ability that does.
You
a
have
good
clearly
thing.
just never played Mario. His hero ability is insane.
Yeah, but you have to do a bad thing to do it. You have to.
You guys really think it should be in B tier?
Yeah,
I think it's better than Mario.
I don't know how to
Like,
play Azuri.
the
I can't
assassin
comment
card
on this.
pool
I
is
just can't
good.
figure it out.
the assassin
I
card
think-
pool
I
is
think
good,
Azuri's
and she leverages the 2 for 6 the best.
Yeah, she still gets just enough. So if you think that like a race face and weakest link and CNC are good, then she's pretty good. She also gets to play like you have some other silver bullets. She has a high-ish popper count. I think she still probably usually gets mauled by Prism, but it's possible that maybe she has play there.
You also get the bonus shakedown, right? Compared to the other assassins, like no one else
Yeah.
really has that unique form of disruption. And like I was
Yeah.
saying before, that's like the most consistent one I think in this this format.
Shakedown's also broken right now because every deck is either red line or Mystic.
That's what I'm saying.
or
Yeah,
Prism,
like it'll always get a card.
or Prism, where it's also it's just yellow line.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll put it in B tier. And last is going to be Vincent.
I think she's in.
Can't
Don't
be.
play.
Don't play. Results
I
are
think
looking
she-
good.
I think she's too powerful to be in don't play because like I do think she's a good deck that beats a lot of the best decks a lot, but she's so inconsistent. There's no way she's above B tier.
Yeah.
She just cannot be. You just cannot build that hero in any way that's anything close to consistent.
And if you do, you get fatigued.
Yeah, exactly. By everyone. By Fi. Red line Fi fatigued you.
I think Vincent and B makes sense. Okay. For people listening at home, our S tier is going to be Zen, Aurora, and New. Our A tier is going to be Prism, Azalea, Dio, Enigma, KO. Our B tier is going to be Verdance, Ira, Mario, Syndra, Florian, Phi, Azuri, Vincent. And then Silver Bullets are Jarl, Fang, Dory, and Riptide. Everything else is do not play. Any last minute changes before we jump out of this?
Huh. I think
No,
I'm fine
what
with
do
how
you?
this ended up.
No, we clearly nailed it.
Yeah, nailed it.
No,
I
I mean
mean-
it's
Maybe some of the ordering within the tiers could be changed, but who cares?
Yeah, who cares?
yeah. I'm not 100% sold on Dio, but otherwise, yeah, I think it looks good.
I think Dio's scarier than people think it is,
Yeah, I
but
agree.
that's fine. If everyone keeps pretending Dio's bad and then no one plays it, I would be perfectly happy with that. Okay, let's do some podcast questions. These are asked by premium members of our Discord. If you would like to be able to ask questions on the podcast, or yawn apparently on the podcast, you can.
I wasn't ready.
Ask any questions that you would like to, see any of our deck lists, follow along, find people to practice with, and a bunch of other things. Even submit VODs for us to review. Feel free to join in the link below. First question here from Millen says, is there any card mechanic from other card games that you would like in FAB?
I feel like we talked about this in another episode, but I can give some thoughts.
Mhm.
Sure.
Yeah, I just love the extra deck from Yu-Gi-Oh. The ability to draw cards that have their own effects, but then when you're done with their own effects, because your opponents interact with them, they can then combine to form something more powerful, but also a limited resource, given that the extra deck is like a known quantity, right? It can only be 15 cards, and your opponent can theoretically, based on the game state, know what it's possible for you to summon. I just like that mechanic. We have like very small hints of this with the that Assassin Ninja split card, that Concealed Blade, where like lets you go into your inventory. But that's still just like you're playing a card to go into your inventory. It's not like a mechanic of the game. So I think, yeah, maybe there could be like some sort of hero that has access to a demi hero pool similar to what we have now. But instead of it being like random at the end of turn, it would be like some like mid turn thing that the hero had like limited access to. Would be cool.
Yep. I really like a magic mechanic. It's just time counters. Whether it's I don't remember what the original mechanic is called, but you play a card and then it resolves a few turns later, basically. But I think we could see this. There's a few different ways that the mechanic works. There's a few different technical mechanics, especially recently. But basically, I think in Fab it would be cool to. We see this like indirectly with things like read the runes or ponder tokens, but I think it would be cool to like directly like play a card, probably sacrifice a little bit of value, and then resolve it later. I think it's really cool space for some combo decks that allows people to kind of play into them a little bit easier, but the combo decks can perhaps get some extra power from the mechanic. But I think it's also just cool, kind of like when both players know that something is going to happen, especially if maybe one player only kind of knows what's going to happen. I think it can create a lot of interesting decisions around like how do I play around this, knowing that it's going to happen. Maybe it's like a face down card that I don't know what it is. Something like Arachne Trapdoor, I think, is like another good example of this mechanic being used well, where like your opponent, especially in CC, your opponent banishes a card and you don't know if they banished like Frailty Trap or Inertia Trap, and playing around them might be wildly different. So I think that kind of mechanic would be sweet.
I would like to see alt win conditions. I've always been a fan of them in other games. We don't really have any of those here. I don't know if we ever will, but like Final Countdown was something I really liked as like a Yu-Gi-Oh player. Because
one big thing about this game is that there's like 2 win conditions that are like very real already, because like mill is like such a big actual part of the game that they might be more dubious to add like other ones.
Yeah, I would like gain X health, get to a certain health, even if they're like not obtainable. I just think it's always cool when you have like alt win conditions. Okay, Skylancer asks, now that RTN season is done and we are now approaching the mini events that lead towards Pro Tour London, like calling Kobe, who do you think are S tier and A tier heroes in the current meta?
I think we have some
Definitely
answers.
not Iraqi Marionette. That's bottom.
I think we answered this question. Hopefully you got your question answered by the entire podcast. Inobi asks, about a month until London, have you all decided what you're going to play?
I really wish I could. I wish I had the agency to make that decision at this point.
I've decided I'm going to play Flesh and Blood.
Yeah, there's a battle hardened in Milwaukee. That's like 2 weeks before the event. It's a team battle hardened that Noah and I, and then a teammate and local of mine, Austin, will be playing in. And I'll probably decide after that weekend. I think like 2 to 3 weeks is usually around the sweet spot. So if I'm like between a few decks going into that, and then I lock in after that, I'll be pretty happy.
I'll probably choose a deck like next week or the week after the latest, and then if Zen allows, I'll play that deck. Otherwise, I'm obviously just playing Zen.
Yeah, I do not know yet. Okay, Renzo asks, any forecasts on the next hero to LL, and will those LL by Nats?
So I assume they mean after Zen, because Zen will, because before Nats, there's like a ProQuest season, right?
Yep.
In addition to a bunch of callings and battle hardens and a Pro Tour. Yeah, so Zen will be gone. And then after that, it's probably between like Azalea, because Azalea could get support from the new set. I
don't think she needs it.
Well, but the new set's right at Nats, so that doesn't apply.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
How many points does the Pro Tour give?
I think it's 100.
100?
Okay, so yeah, maybe like if any of the heroes that are like new or above, like 740 or above, if they win the Pro Tour, then they'll probably be gone.
Yeah, just like, well, specifically like the good ones, like new Enigma, Azalea, Vi, I guess, right? If that
probably not.
I honestly think it'll just be Zen, but there's some outside shots, but they're going to have to run a bunch of things in a row.
ProQuest is notably only CC.
Yeah,
that is. It's still only 1,500 points though.
Yeah, we saw how widely dispersed the points were this season.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would take like a meta shift to have a whole lot of more heroes LL, but also high seas again. I mean, we keep talking about it, but like the devs did have like kind of hyped the setup quite a bit. And so if this set does like meaningfully impact the meta, then a lot of these like 700-ish heroes might not make any real progress.
And to be fair, Nats, I'm pretty sure Renzo is not in the US, so in regards to Nats, if like we get support for Azalea, like y'all mentioned, she could LL Azalea, like in our Nats and then not be legal for the next person's Nats.
Yeah, I think that's very possible. We've seen it looks like there will be Ranger cards in the next set that are very good generically. So
yeah, I will say I'm still pretty confident we're going to have a lot of heroes LL this year.
Yeah,
at least compared to what we're used to. It just might take a little bit longer than we expected.
But I'm still will go.
If they make another mech set, maybe.
I was really hoping someone would scoop that -IE that was in our top 8.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried about hero bloat with some of the heroes like Fi and -IE, where they kind of print heroes that are just better, and they never like Fi was like expected to be like, okay, cool, Fi gets a bunch of supported LLs, but like hasn't really happened.
Well, it's because they spent the last 4 sets printing hate for Fi specifically.
Yeah, it feels like some of these like Bravo Showstopper as well, like some of these older heroes like might just kind of never die. Like we kind of expect them to always die, but I don't know, they might just be in the game for like 10-15 years. No, I'm serious. Like I could see like Bravo being in the game for like 10 years. Like,
yeah.
If they just keep making Guardians that are better, like
I think like
Reinar.
Yeah, so many heroes are just there's no point in ever playing the meta major if you want to win.
Okay, Humble Greek asks, talk me out of playing new and playing a good deck for Pro Tour.
I won't do it.
Don't do it. Man. Do what you're doing.
You do you.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I agree.
Nu's a good
Nu's pretty
choice.
bad.
You don't have to play a good deck. You just like play a deck that makes your opponent also forced to play a bad deck, and then
Yeah.
you can win.
Pepperminta asks, is Aurora more resilient to new than other aggro decks? And if so, why?
From the
How
Aurora
about
side,
its
I
matchup
say
into
yes.
Guardians?
She doesn't scale, right? On offense. Like, she has some cards that are awkward against disruption, but generally you're just converting each card in your hand into 4 or 5 damage, regardless of how many cards you have. So, and she doesn't play blues, so you don't get caught by Siren's Call.
Sure. I think I need to play the matchups more. The matchups that I've been playing, I've found that new is pretty decent into Aurora. At least the way I've been playing it.
Yeah, I think she is more resilient than some other aggro decks we've seen in the past, just because, like you mentioned, like scaling is not as big of a deal for her.
She has
Like she has
legitimate
some
armor
cards.
too.
Yeah, like her scaling stuff is also kind of indirect, where it's like Channel Lightning Valley and Burn Up Shock, where like they don't necessarily scale. Like you just kind of only have to respect them so much if they scale so much.
Yeah, and in terms of like aggro heroes, like you mentioned with the fridge, I keep bringing up the fact that Aurora can play face perk now, and like you just have to approach the matchup very differently if that card's on the table.
Yeah.
Yep, I can see that. Arms person asks, is it possible to correctly block assassin cards more than 50% of the time?
Against
Yeah,
new,
so-
no. Against the other guys,
Against
yes.
new, no.
I thought about this question. I think the answer is that it is very possible to make the best educated block
Yeah.
way more than 50% of the time. Now, making the correct block, if you could see your opponent's hand more than 50% of the time, no, you're not going to get there. But that's okay. Like,
Yeah,
part of the reason that these decks are hard to play against is because sometimes it's wrong.
yeah, you can make
Like,
like the mathematically correct block. I think more than 50% of the time because you just like
Yeah.
calculate based on what the average deck list looks like, what they've played, what they blocked with.
Yeah.
But that
Yeah, like
may
you
not be
can come to
correct
the
in the
right
moment.
conclusion. Yeah, you can come to the right conclusion a lot. It's just like even the right choice gets juiced sometimes because they have different things. Like sometimes you plan away and then they just like have this weird combination of cards that is the one thing that juices you.
I'll take a further step back. I think it's possible to do it nearly every single time if you look at when is it actually important for your deck to block what is being swung at you. So instead of just how is the correct way to block this interaction, and then what is the mathematically correct way to block this interaction, you take another step back. What does my deck even care about blocking this interaction for? And like, I think you can make that judgment call like almost every time correctly.
Yeah, so sometimes the correct block is to block with 0 cards.
Yep. And sometimes
you-
that's
or-
the least to lose.
And sometimes it's, I'm going to block 2 cards here. I don't care what you have. I just don't want to take damage here. And this hand doesn't matter. Like, it's knowing which of those spots are you actually in. Scary Super Cringe asks nothing on that spot. Okay. He was making a comment. I will get back. I'll eventually get down to his actual question. Ham asks, how do you pronounce Skizik?
Just like
Skizik.
that.
Phenomenal job. He's done it.
They're just eyes. They're not Y's. There you go.
Mhm.
Codfather asks, with Viscerai LL'd and the addition of a Jagged Edge to help the Enigma matchup, is Hatchet Dory back in the menu? No. They can't deal with the aggro decks. That's the issue. It's just like not fast enough.
Well, it also just can't. It's just like doesn't do anything impressive.
Yeah.
Like we're back to the time where like Flesh and Blood, like to be a real deck, you have to like actually do something impressive now. You can't just do better numbers than everybody most of the time. Like you have to do some powerful thing. It doesn't really do anything powerful other than like spill blood plus sharpen senses. Exactly.
Todd H asks, what are your do's and don'ts for LGSs running events like Artians or PQs in regards to pricing, event structure, etc.?
I think don't price out your locals. So if you have a relatively casual local scene, it's okay for some events not to have a lot of pricing. If people just want to show up, play a cheap event, play something special with maybe more stakes than they're used to, maybe they get more competitive over time. But I think that's one problem that people have had in the past. And then like the flip side is true as well, where like if you do have a competitive player base, don't make it $10 entry with no additional pricing. Like, give your players something, keep them coming back, and that, like, make sure that your players are actually interested in getting things they want and coming out.
I have only one comment to add here. Please do advertise and have like an online way to sign up. It's like so annoying if the sign up is just like hidden away in some Discord message from 3 months ago that you only know if you like follow. Like, make it very obvious how to sign up for the event.
I have some dues. We're very lucky in this area. All of our events basically have been selling out, and they're all basically 1 or 2Ks depending on how large the thing was. So legitimately no complaints price wise or how any of that's run. Oh, I wish some places could hold more people, but that's just like the East Coast, like whatever, right? I agree. I think with the way Flesh of Blood's going right now, when you're taking pre-orders or like signing up ahead of time, you should take payment. You should have a way to take payment. Like it's frustrating. Like some places sell out, and then the day of there's like 6 slots open because like 6 people didn't show up, but other people couldn't sign up to go there because you didn't take payment. Like, just take payment when people sign up.
Yeah, you should not cap if people haven't given you money.
I agree. Now, to be fair, most of the places capped a lot of them didn't take money, and they were capped with the people who actually showed up to the event. But there were a couple that were capped, but then not everyone showed up. So
I don't know if this is just a personal thing, but my biggest don't have breaks during Swiss.
Yeah.
If you want to break before top 8, that's like
breaks.
fine.
Yeah.
I prefer no breaks ever, but please don't do like 2 rounds of Swiss and then take a break. Or like the worst is when you do like take a break before the last round of Swiss. So it's like you have to stick around to like maybe have a win and in. So let the people know if they're dead or not, and then we can break.
Wardo77 asks, what do you see as the most aggressive counter to Aurora's power level after the Armory deck releases?
Prism, as like, if you mean a direct counter to the deck, like the best deck into Aurora is probably Prism. At least right now.
I think Zen's probably pretty good.
Zen
into
as
Aurora
well.
still.
Yeah.
I think Prism's
the
more
direct
aggressive
answer.
though.
Yeah, aggressive counter would be Prism for sure.
Yeah, yes, agreed.
Zen's pretty passive at countering that matchup.
Captain asks, what do you guys think about the change that the PT Top 32 no longer gives out PTI's only qualification for the next PT, while calling battle-hardened PTIs remain unchanged?
It's stupid.
Yeah, I don't like it. I understand like what they're trying to get at, but I don't like less value. Do you guys like less value?
It goes along with their like theory of you need to play at least 5 games before the next Pro Tour. It's kind of just like they just want people to keep playing the game, but it misses out on the point of like when you go like finish that highly, you're going to get enough elo to qualify anyway.
I think this change should also. I think this change also kind of needs a change to the players packages we get at Pro Tours. I mean, maybe we're spoiled. Like just having free entry and getting anything's pretty nice, but like the value of the like playmat we get no longer exists like it used to.
Yeah.
It's like the incentive to travel to the event you qualified for isn't really there. Like it's a significant cost.
I also don't know that it actually incentivizes people to play more. I think it kind of does the opposite. Like if I already have my Pro Tour invite, like I don't have to play Pro Quests. I don't have to care about my elo. I don't have to like top 8 events. Whereas like when I have a PTI, like I'm incentivized to be like, I want to keep this PTI, so I want to go get another invite. Like for whatever you'll say about Brody Spurlock, from the perspective of LSS, if there were 40 Brodies that went to every event, that would be good for having people go to events, right? Maybe that would be a little bit of a problem, right? But like, you know what I mean? Like people playing the game more is a good thing. So I feel like giving people these invites actually might cause the opposite effect. In addition to making all your players feel kind of bad because you just like lost money. Like that's what it is, right? This is just like whatever the value of your PTI was, you basically lost that. Except some of the time, some people would not have qualified otherwise.
But I think this makes you play the game more because you're like, if you get your qualification for the next Pro Tour, you got to use it on the next Pro Tour. You can't be like passively banking a PTI.
It's gonna do both. It's just like which side's gonna be heavier, right? Because like if I'm not on the Pro Tour and I have one PTI in my bank and I have to like really time when I do it now because I can't like keep free rolling, I'm probably skipping London because I'm not gonna travel to Asia this year, right? Or like I might wait until Worlds and then try to top 64, top 32 Worlds to get an invite to the first Pro Tour next year, right? Like because you can only use the invite at one event. If you already know you can't go to that event, then you're like less incentivized to go to the previous Pro Tour.
Imagine how bad it feels to be one of the people who like you make top 32 and then you just can't go to the next event. Like you have like a wedding or something and like, oh, I can't go to this event, so this is just completely minus for me.
Or it's in Singapore, and that's like incredibly difficult for people to travel to.
Yeah, that's true as well. Well, although I think from their perspective, that's like not a huge deal.
Yeah, sure.
They already made that decision when they made the location.
Yeah, but again, I think we're just spoiled. Like the pricing is great.
Yeah.
If this was the way it worked from the start, like no one would be complaining. But
yeah, agreed.
It just feels better pricing. Yeah.
Yeah. I will say it'll be really nice for ProQuest season if you just top 32 get the invite already, because ProQuests are hard. At least if your area is difficult,
winning
you have to win the event. It's hard. Like it's like very hard to get on to the Pro Tour scene by qualifying for ProQuest.
Yeah,
most of us have done that every season, but like getting the top 32, if you're already guaranteed that,
I've won like 3 ever, and 2 of them were back-to-back days. Oh, okay. It's hard.
I guess I have qualified for the Pro Tour via winning a ProQuest almost every season. But
I've explored all the avenues of qualification. We'll leave it at that.
No, I feel where you're going, Cody, because my time's been so limited lately.
I love what that encompasses. Yeah. Like some of the stuff that's there is kind of silly.
I'm with you though, Cody.
I'm just saying ProQuests are hard. RTNs are not that hard. To qualify through. It's still an achievement. It's still an accomplishment. You should be very happy. It's a lot easier when you have
like 6 per season. I get like 1.5.
Mm-hmm.
But that's fair. ProQuests are very difficult in order to get your Pro Tour.
But it's also like if you have your invite already, now you can play a deck you want to learn at your ProQuest instead of having to spike with your deck that's going to LL before the Pro Tour you're qualifying for, right?
Especially for areas like mine as well. Like mine, and I know there's a lot of people around the country with similar spots where like I have a very competitive area, but we only get 2 ProQuests, maybe 3 in like, a 40, like I think like a 2-hour radius usually. And that's like really hard for people. So I guess this is like, I don't know, it's like kind of helping. Like ultimately it's still always neg, right? Like, cause it's always worse than PTI, but it's maybe not the biggest deal because for people like that have a hard time qualifying elsewhere. Other ways.
You know who it helps? If you're already qualified, does it pass down now from your ProQuest? Or does it still eat it?
That would be nice, yeah. If you already have your PT invite from either a ProQuest or Pro Tour, it feels like it should pass down.
It should pass down.
Because somewhere in Gem it should have the infrastructure. Because that's always the thing that they mentioned that's the problem, right? It's always Gem infrastructure that's the biggest thing holding them back from that.
Dog wants pats.
Yeah.
Okay. Mista asks, what are your thoughts on today's BNR? Nothing.
Yeah, as expected.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
Galaxy, why isn't Prism running the format right now? She matches favorably into new and many of the aggro decks. What is holding her back?
Because all of her cards say this can get 2 for 1 if your opponent chooses to. Like Phantasm, that's why. It's just that keyword. That's it.
And she's inconsistent.
Yeah, mostly because of Phantasm. Like she's not
but mostly because of 7.
Like the deck never doesn't function for a whole game. Like there are some hands that are really bad and can easily lose you the game, but like the deck never just doesn't play the whole game. It's just that sometimes your opponent 2 for 1s every attack you play. Like you play games sometimes with Prism where like you throw 3 Heralds to start the game and they all get popped with Phantasm. And like you literally just start the game like down 8 health and getting 2 for 1 every turn.
Agreed. Stoopkid asks, what's the worst deck you think you could play and still take down a small event like an RTN? How many hours per week would you estimate that you're putting into Flesh of Blood?
It's like
I could spike with Max, game, I believe.
Feng. I think Feng is the worst deck I could win an RTN with.
That I could win an RTN with?
That I could win an RTN with. Because I think it's mostly off the back people wouldn't know what was happening. Yeah, I think it's probably thing.
For
I can
me,
run with
it's
Max.
like I think I could do it with like Viscerai. I think that's the worst hero because I can't win RTMs with it.
I was gonna say, yes, so you just can't win events. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, bro.
What about
I
you,
don't know.
Noah?
I gotta play a good deck.
Okay. And how many hours per week do you estimate you're putting into Flesh and Blood?
This question's always hard
It's
to
like
answer because it's like,
Yeah.
if you're talking about hours I'm physically on like Talishar or playing at locals, it's not that much. But like,
Yeah.
I don't
I
know,
think it's like
probably like 4 to 6 hours per day spent in like at least thinking about the game.
yeah. For me, I think it's like 20 hours a week physically, and then like probably another 20 hours of just thinking about it. Just like
Oh, thinking
when I'm
counts. That's
in,
like,
when I like wake up or go to bed
yeah.
or get in the shower or take a walk. I take a lot of walks, so I think about a lot of Flesh and
Your
Blood.
dog clearly needs a walk.
No, that's absolutely what we're doing. As soon as we're done with this, we're going to go on a walk, and I'm going to think about Flesh and Blood.
I don't know. It's like 10 to 20 hours when I'm not on. And then if I really got to grind, pushing like 30, 40.
Yeah, it depends on how much you put into it. Like, are you talking about podcasts? Or are you talking about also
Oh, God.
like
Yeah. If we're talking outside of
org
playing,
stuff?
I'm
Like,
guessing. And
because
Oh, yeah,
all
yeah,
of that's
my
Flesh
time,
and Blood
actually.
related.
Yesterday, it was like 3 hours of travel time just for me to get 2 hours worth of in-person testing. Like, yeah, if you count that, then it's a lot.
Yeah, it's most of the time that I'm not at work.
Yeah. All of the available time.
Yeah, if we don't have a time turner where you can do multiple things at the same time, surely.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet. Okay. Scary Super Cringe actually has a question, and here it is. Aurora is a strong deck and performs the second best during RTNs. Do you expect her success rate to drop for bigger tournaments? I suspect she has been overperforming in RTNs due to the amount of random and not so great decks.
Like, not really.
Her good draws are too good, and if she's played at the rate she was played at Worlds, people are just going to talk with her.
Yeah. Like, she's good in a wide field. Like, she doesn't have any like terrible matchups. Those kind of went away.
She's just a good deck.
Yeah.
She's just good, solid.
Yep, I agree. And someone was going to be drawing hot, and when Aurora draws hot, it's like
Yeah,
it
like
beats
when
so
you
many
have those
decks.
like start with a Lightning Valley, draw Lightning Valley draws, and you're just like, I'm gonna 20 you for the first 3 turns of the game. Like, it's really rough.
Yep. Cusco asks, a Terra best deck in format?
In
Probably
Blitz, I assume is what he's talking about. Who knows?
Yeah.
We're not a
I'm gonna
Blitz
play
pod.
that.
Yeah, we don't do
Naive,
that here.
Naive seems to think so, but I'm not going to let it occupy any brain space.
Yep.
I usually do
Cooney,
that.
Cooney asks, I know you guys mentioned playing PoE 2. Is anyone playing the new Monster Hunter? Nope.
Should I play it? I never played any Monster Hunters.
I don't need another thing to get addicted to.
Yeah,
No,
I won't
I don't
play
have
it,
time.
but I'd like to know if I should.
Okay. Smoothie asks, when it comes to hero design, ignoring power level, what heroes would you call successes or mistakes, overall game health, or some other reason? Chain, because it's why I continue to play this game, because I'm
Massive
just chasing
success.
that high. I'm just like chasing that
Yep.
dragon that I got from playing Chain, and I haven't found it yet.
I think Aurora is probably the best designed hero in the last 2 or 3 years. I think that's like, in terms of just like good for the game and good for the format and good design and enjoyable, people like it. I think Aurora's like been the most like, this got printed, people liked it. Yeah, I mean, I think Aurora's like the best design, probably.
Yeah, I don't have too many thoughts on this. I just like, I play the heroes that they say I'm allowed to play, and if I win with them, I usually attach fonder feelings than if I lose.
Fair.
So I like Icelander. She was cool.
I think most of their heroes are successes. I think the only ones that they view as failures are either heroes that they expect to be popular or good and aren't, or heroes that are way too strong. So like Zen would be seen as a failure with Art of War and Bonds legal. Whereas basically everything else, I think maybe something like Tekla Boston or Riptide when they were first printed are seen as failures because maybe they expected those to be playable and they were not.
Still not.
Yeah, still not, to be fair. I mean, Riptide had some time there, but yeah, did not convert.
Yeah, I think their hero design is very good.
Yeah.
It feels like you're playing that hero when you're playing the hero most of the time, and it feels very thematic. They're not always good, which is fine. But I think we've moved past the period where the heroes all sucked. We had that weird period of time where just every set sucked.
Yeah.
And lately it's just been banger after banger after banger. So no complaints.
Yeah, the last 3 sets have had all playable heroes. Even if they're super inconsistent, they're all playable, which is good.
Yep. Big Hungry asks, who's the hero to bring to LL this skirmish season?
Oh, it's not close.
It's
not close.
Definitely
It's Chain.
Chain.
Yeah,
it's Chain.
You said can't play Somersault. It's so sad.
I think
specifically, it's probably my Chain deck that is available in the Discord. You just got to figure out where the calls go.
Yeah, RuneGate Chain. I think Starvo is still playable, and then I think probably RuneGate Chain has some counter decks that you could build.
Yeah.
CYP is probably good against it if you build it in something like Chrono Seeds.
No.
But
absolutely not.
No.
We have invert.
Putrid Stirrings just
and we have Stirrings.
And we have invert.
Regardless, I'm sure there are ways that you can be good against that deck.
There are. If you play Zen.
Yeah, you just go fast.
I think Starvo is reasonable as well. Probably not great into Chain, especially with Cold, but it's okay. You're Starvo, you can win. You still get felling.
Yep. Well, we've done it. We've had a tier list episode. I can't wait to see everyone's reactions to our tier list. I will be looking in the purple Discord tomorrow or exactly when this comes out and see everyone getting angry at us. The Fing players, I saw that you were very angry a couple weeks ago. I hope that you feel less angry now because I actually think the deck's pretty decent. It's just not very good. So you decide. Goodbye, guys.
Bye.
Yeah, we're getting rid of the envelope
7
here, but
envelope.
What we could do here is go ahead and play the envelope.
All 3 pitches of envelope and darkness.